Okay, I want to start with, tell me about sorcery. I noticed that.
Collective Open Sourcery,
Yeah.
Where do we start? So, Collective Open Sourcery, before Collective Open Sourcery, years ago, I had this thought that I was very interested in going to places. I'm not a very social person. I didn't have many friends. Even now, I don't have many friends. But I was very interested in connecting with other people. So I went to like one or two events that did not satiate me, that did not give me what I wanted. So I started feeling like there should be a different kind of event where, and the events I went to also. I also went to some events where the focus was too much on a particular kind of socializing. Yeah, you talk to people, you do things, and you have to kind of get a little vulnerable and a little open. That was very difficult for me. So I had this plan in my head that I wanted to create some different kind of space which would be very comfortable for me. So when I separated, when I got out of my marriage, I started looking for a house that had like a large enough space, like this house. This is the house that I finally found, which has space where we can do some gatherings. And initially I started designing and announcing standard events that are popular, that I thought people would be interested in, like painting workshops, art workshops, things where people get to talk, express, perform, things like that. And nobody showed up. For a whole year I tried. Nobody showed up. And then at some point, and I had I was going through some situation in life where I was like really broke and I was struggling to pay rent and I was kind of almost giving up. And then I got a job. As soon as I got a job, I was like, no, let me retry this. Other things that happened that had gotten in the way of doing things. So sometime in December last year, I finally announced an event called Euroqueer Quiet Hours, because I wanted something that I finally designed something that I wanted to attend instead of what I thought people would want to attend. And in a house, I also found that weird. I was like, will people accept that an event is happening inside a house? Somebody's living there. So announced the event. I put some money in promoting on Instagram, and somehow 18 people showed up. That event happened. I posted pictures and videos from that event on Instagram. It felt very good. Then I was like, okay, let me get a little, and that was called Quiet Hours. There was no agenda, nothing. Nobody had talked. In fact, people were discouraged from talking to each other. So everybody just existed. There were cats. Everybody was very happy. The vibe of the event was very, very good. Once we ended, because my idea was 2 to 6 or 7 events and then socializing. Socializing was very good. Everybody was talking. Everybody was very excited. Everybody was very happy because you had this time that you could spend with each other's presence without the pressure of talking or performing or showing yourself, introducing yourself. So when we finally opened the space to talking, the conversations were very interesting, very natural, very comfortable. Nobody was freaking out, nobody was nervous, nobody was anxious. That was great. I got a little ambitious. I was like, okay, I want to do another kind of event. I had this belief that play would be a great idea. Like play is the opposite of trauma, neurological opposite of trauma. So we could do things related to play. And I posted photos and events from the first event. And Akshata replied to one of those photos. She added a comment, I would have loved to attend that. I was like, sure, we're planning something. When it happens next time, I'll let you know. So when this playdate was designed and I posted about the playdate, I also sent her a DM saying that there is this event, you can come to this one. And we had a little conversation. She's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. I think it was Saturday or something. She said, I'll see you tomorrow. I was like, no, the event is next week. But you can come and hang because this is supposed to be that kind of place. So Ankita and Akshata came the next day. At that time, I was dating somebody, a man who was living with me. So I was like, you can come and hang with us. She's like, who is us? I was like, me and this man, and we together. So they came, they spent some time here. And then the event, they came back for the event as well. That was, I think, the that event had the highest attendance. There were like 16 something people. Really good event. And at that time I was working a job. I was trying to work a job. When I did that event, the sensations and the experience of holding that space switched something, rewired something. And after that, the job situation just started deteriorating. And we started talking a lot about, because most people couldn't understand what we were doing. She was very interested in what was happening and she was very interested in supporting it. And we started talking and we started getting personally very close. And I think that was in January. And then you went to Goa for some time, for like a few weeks. You went to Goa and it was like, okay, do we want to get into a relationship, not want to get into a relationship? That conversation was going on. A lot of things were happening, a lot of spiritual movement was happening at that time. And by February, we had done another event. March, at that time we were doing a lot of events, like 1 or 2 events every month. I think March, we practically living together. And April is when we formally started living here. Ankit also moved in. April is when we started building what would eventually properly become Collective Open Sourcery. Yeah, so that was the idea. The idea was that I wanted to hold a space where I would feel welcome, that I'll feel comfortable. Because I didn't feel comfortable at most events. Every event you were told what to do. There were a lot of instructions. I felt like some events I went to, I felt like I was back in school. Like I was talking to somebody, having a chat when something was supposed to happen on the stage. And we just started talking. Somebody came and like, no, come there. I was like, but no, everybody come there. So I didn't like that. I was like, yeah, that. So the events we did, we give people an option. Nobody has to participate in anything. You can just watch. We don't do introductions till the end of events. We started making things that feel very safe. Low light, low stimulation, low expectation, low pressure to perform, low pressure to be anybody. Enough. Okay, yeah.
What we found was that when you drop the expectations, life force moves on its own.
Yeah.
There is often, you find there's nobody that actually wants to sit it out. Even people who start out sitting out something, the desire to give and to receive something in return in a way that feels natural, in a way that feels playful, it's so prevalent in person, in any alive being, that things happen and there's so much energy exchange without necessarily having to link it to roles and identity structures, like, I go here or I do this. It's just, there is something to do, so you do it. And to get comfortable with each other based on your energies and what you see during the day, what you feel during the day.
Yeah, I mean, this is also part of it.
Yeah.
How's being here in Kerala?
Can I? So, I feel like Kerala has been really interesting for me because though there's a language barrier, the general consciousness has moved in a direction where there's a general openness to difference because of the art scene mostly, and there's a pride in being accepting, even if the patriarchy is strong and kicking. Yes, like there are those networks still that thrive almost mainly on connections and stuff, but still when there's someone who's different, there's more of a curiosity there, just like you're expressing now. Like there's a curiosity to difference, which is very welcoming for me, because my upbringing personally has been very fragmented. So because of that, I don't really have very strong identity markers that I can cling to, like a language, or like not particularly attached to any this way or that. So that has kind of led me to explore then if I fall into this category of person that's not particularly attached to any identity, then what is it that makes a human a human? So I've kind of been on that learner's path since very young, because when you don't fit in anywhere, you're like, there has to be some basis on which we all do fit in. So with Collective Open Sourcery, that's what really his I think internal motivation is more around the self in that sense, like he explained, like some place that would feel good for him. For me, it's this intense curiosity of what do people connect based on when the masks are not present, right? Because there's a level of connection that happens, for instance, when a group of people cook together, or when there's a crisis and there's something to get done, and you can connect on the fact that we are alive beings. That, how can that actually be pulled back and put into a container to experience? That was my curiosity. So I haven't gotten to experience that in many places, but when I came to what is it called? Play dates. I experienced that for the first time, because when, like, you have to imagine, like, even in Karnataka, my Kannada is not strong enough to assimilate culturally. My cultural knowledge is not grounded enough to contribute to movie topics and things. Like, even now, if we were to start talking about movies, songs, childhood, nostalgia, it's very fragmented. So when you're, there's a word for it, I think multicultural, third culture. So it's like, so then what do you connect based on? That is always my question. For a very long time, it just meant that I would be isolated in a group. But then, like you said, like the neurological opposite of trauma, which is what this system does to us, right? The isolation is not an accident. It is on purpose to keep us good little workers, right? Because if you're isolated and your productivity, your survival depends on your productivity, all of your creative force goes into securing, keeping a job and staying relevant through that route, right? So play takes a backseat in that. Play, and we also think play as like how we approach it as kids, because we think of play as like playing with toys or with other kids, but play is also a way of navigating life. It is the ability to flexibly drop into different states of mind to gather all the kinds of information available to you when making decisions around movements. That, you know, we lose touch with that ability because we're put on a very linear track and very linear markers of success, linearly determined. So when we lose that connection with play, we don't really know how to play with our lives. We forget that this is like a journey. Like, we all end up at the same, we all die. So then the space in between, we're playing with it, right? You don't really get to experience that outside of like maybe a competitive board game or sports. Non-competitive, open-ended, exploratory play, you kind of leave behind after childhood. And when I started looking into what is that commonality, not only between humans, but all living beings, like why do we love dogs and cats? Because we can play with them, you know? So it's like when I saw online that there's a play date, I was like, yeah, like the keywords, yes, like I need to check this out. That was what motivated me, and I think we're gonna show you this consent practices thing.
Because continuing on what you're saying, I was very interested in safety because I didn't feel safe. Most of the things I went to, there was an event I went to where we were told, I'm not take the name of the group that did the event, but it was in Kochi itself. I went to that event with my then partner, another partner I had. Went to the event, it was supposed to be something to connect each other and they blindfolded people in pairs, put them in pairs, made them sit in front of each other, and told people that you can tell them the prompts, or tell them the most vulnerable thing that you don't feel safe with anybody because you blindfolded, you don't know who you're talking to, and because they blindfolded, they don't know who's talking to them, and there's a mutually you will exchange information, and you can say things that will be held then in that safety and security. So all of us shared. I knew that a lot of people shared really vulnerable stuff. And the next day when we came back home, there was a WhatsApp group, and they took photos of videos of the interaction and posted, which does not make sense, because once you say this is safety, this is anonymity, and then anonymity and safety is taken away, then you know who's talking to you and who you were talking to. Then what's the point of the whole exercise? It just spoils things. And then because of the WhatsApp group and everybody's numbers were there, all the men, including one of the organizers, started reaching out to my partner and starting conversations. I got people messaged me and started conversations. I was like, how is this safe? Because if you'd said you're organizing an event to prey on other people, to allow organizers to contact women or men or whatever you're interested in, then you should not use words like healing and safety. And I was very frustrated by them. Everywhere I went, everybody said healing, safety. There was no safety, there was no healing. You came back feeling like somebody's extracted energy from you. The other events that did not say healing and safety, they were just too noisy. Like the lights were too bright, the music was loud, there was too much happening, super overstimulating. And it was like the week is stimulating, you working, whatever you're doing, the life is stimulating. And then you want to go and connect with other human beings, it's again very overstimulating. I don't say that people should not be stimulated. Like play is stimulus, but it doesn't have to be noisy, it doesn't have to be like loud music blaring in your ears, or people shouting orders at you, or people telling you what to do. So you there's no experience of safety, there's no experience of freedom. So one of the things, and I have some community organizing experience from the WordPress community, open source community. So I took some principles from there. I want to show, like we use these, I bought these stickers on Amazon, plenty of stickers. And these are communication stickers. So if people would come to an event and stick this red sticker on their clothes somewhere. And that would mean like, don't talk to me. If you put a yellow sticker, it meant only if I approach you, talk to me. Or only if we know each other, talk to me. Green is like I'm open to conversation.
Right.
Similarly, silver, we had these wristbands. If you wear a silver wristband, then you're okay getting photographed. If you had a purple wristband, then blur, pixelate my photos and videos.
Right.
Because that is also there, exposure is also there. Stalking, all of that exists. So this, and the beauty of the first event was people who started with red stickers in the morning, by afternoon had turned to yellow, and then by evening everybody turned to green. And that has happened at every event. The thing I was she was talking earlier about. When people are given a chance and not forced to open up, not forced to become vulnerable, not forced to perform, eventually people open up when they feel safe, not because they're prompted, not because somebody is sitting on their head telling them, okay, you need to open up, you need to become vulnerable. When they feel safe, they automatically do. So the whole day was quiet, but 6 o'clock, it was noisy. Like noisy as in, there's so much talking happening. The second event when we had that played it, again, the idea was, the logic behind play it was, it's very easy. If I've always noticed, right, children, absolute strangers, they don't know each other. Sometimes they don't speak each other's language, they can't communicate with each other. So they just look at each other, nod their head, and they start running around playing, right? There's absolutely no friction in making friends. We have a lot of friction in making friends. So my thought was that by introducing some play, that friction will automatically go away. So, and I was doing this subtle thing or hidden thing where I was like, okay, I want to tackle anxiety through this play. I want to design games that tackle shame and anxiety. We did that worked. By evening, there was so much conversation. People won't leave. Like some guy, I'm still friends with him, but one guy I had to tell him, bro, it's 10:30. We need to eat and we need to sleep. Can you please go home? That's when he left. Like people won't leave. That started happening at every event.
Also lovely the nature of the conversation, because
Yeah.
like I was saying, usually when you go to a social event or a mixer or something, it's all about usually like what you do, how much how much time you spend working, all of your achievements and such things, right? And it naturally goes into a competitive space. And then all you're left with are like little bit of questions like what are your hobbies, what do you do in free time and all. But when we actually like the journey of the event was play focused first, movement focused first, mostly non-verbal, mostly like Saurabh said, tackling one subject. We've done shame, we've done
Anxiety we've done.
worries, we've done
Worry and anxiety. Shame and embarrassment, worry and anxiety.
grief, we did.
Grief we did.
So during which attack?
India-Pakistan escalation.
The India-Pakistan escalation. There's a lot of grief in the air at that time. So we did an event around grief where we made pinwheels of grief, where we just reflected on that prompt and wrote down whatever felt was coming up for each of us. We made pinwheels and we put it outside.
So all our events, this was the format. Like we would play some games, some collaborative games, not competitive, and then we do one collaborative artwork or installation. I think the first one we gave people chalk. The first event people had chalk and they were drawing outside. Like everybody drew in teams and then drew over each other. The final artwork was beautiful. Sorry.
So what I was trying to say is like the nature of the conversation, because there was like a general reflection prompt and then afterwards it just led to general socializing. It was the nature of conversation then was a lot more playful and deep, but not being sad, which is I feel like after school probably it's very hard to reach that energy, because you're either doing socializing within your old friends groups where there's a lot of expectation and a lot of stories, there's a lot of baggage, or you're doing your socializing with a bunch of strangers where there's like peacocking involved, or you're stuck in your office networks or your home networks, right? So like patriarchal caste based networks. So then there are very much expectations everywhere. That feeling of meeting like as kids and knowing that there's enough commonality that you can just go play something, but that being incredibly deep as well, because you also know and recognize each other's humanity enough to know what you're traveling through as like a 12-year-old, as a 13-year-old. That kind of thing, it's for someone who has trouble with assimilation on a cultural basis. It was like really healing to experience that for me.
We do some games, like very light, very collaborative games where there's no competition, there was nobody winning or losing. But the outcome was always like people were laughing, people would get, and nobody has told their names. We've not done names, we've not done introductions. The games would happen, and then we'd get into some collaborative artwork or installation. The first one we drew with chalk on the floor to replicate in school how you would draw with chalk everywhere. You got a lot of chalk.
Everyone loved that so much.
Everybody loved that. Next time we got cardboard boxes and allowed people to make a house of worry. So everybody built their own rooms in pairs. They built a room and tried to put whatever that for them was the vision of worry or anxiety. And then we asked them, do you want to burn it? Do you want to drown it? How do you want to release it? Everybody wanted to burn it. So we burned that. That was beautiful. Then after that we did pinwheels. We made these pinwheels. People wrote down their grief and then we made pinwheels out of those written things. And we hung them on the trees outside and it was beautiful. Like all of them, breeze came and so in the end, after processing all of that, after playing and after creating something that was aesthetically pleasing and beautiful, the resonance in the body, the experience is like that of a child, because that was the whole idea, that we get into creativity, curiosity, playfulness, all the things that are supposed to be there for inner child healing, because that was always the hidden agenda, to create a healing without calling it healing, without doing any kind of healing. So that was almost magic. Like at the end of the event, the energy, the palpable energy, the excitement, the happiness in the room was tremendous. And we have records. We kept posting those. And in those days, I think I did not. I was at a job and there was enough money and everything. But once I lost that job, and once we said, okay, you want to pay what you can, right? It was not free anymore. I don't know if it was that or it was something else, but then our attendance dropped. People stopped coming. So then we tried, okay, so if this is something that people won't come for. There was a couple of things that we changed. One thing we changed was that people would reach out. Because all the events were called somebody celebrating.
Yeah, actually.
The projects we have, the things that connect us, is usually problems to solve. Like, for instance, at work, you'll have like a project and then you solve it together. And then like you're navigating each other's mostly bad behaviors, because it's all based on a shortage of time. So everyone's like kind of upset at each other and jostling to get this thing done, right? And in that journey, there's connections formed, right? Or you're in school and you're struggling together to get to the finish line that is the end of a school year, right? So there's going to be some procrastinators, there are going to be some studious people, everyone's learning from each other, everyone's playing. There's obviously like we're not perfect as a society, and so there's going to be some excluded people, some overly, pedestalized people. All of that said and done, there's an objective. You're moving towards an objective, and we're doing it imperfectly, but there's connection happening in that. It's still grounded and based in fear and scarcity and all of that. So it's not fun, but there's fun in it, because that's the human spirit, right? We'll make fun out of anything. Even the most dire situation, we'll find fun in it. And that's what keeps us stuck in whatever we have right now, because we are genuinely enjoying ourselves even in the boxes we have built. So if we can actually, my interest, right, was in watching if the thing we are doing is an emergence. The thing we are making, we don't know. We don't have, like, it's not like we're trying to get grades or we're trying to get a promotion or we're trying to make ends meet and make sure we have food on the table this month. We're seeing what arises, but we're there to do something. That feeling, which is what I imagine when we arrive as a species, when we arrive at a place where everyone lives in a way where we are using our natural energy force to do what we like to do, and that is in harmony with what the next person likes to do. And we're giving and we're receiving in relative harmony. That's what it would feel like. Like there is a rough goal and we move in that direction because we're all having the same values, more or less. The distortions have dropped away. That's what it would feel like, right? Like you're playing your way towards common goals, not necessarily bogged down by the shame of everything that was and wasn't and didn't happen, and the failures and the pivots. And we've gotten much more comfortable with identity shifts. So meaning we're not as attached to identities for our survival, and then play is accessible even as adults in the way we move through life in bigger goals, like harvesting food for a community, for a big goal, right? It's more playful. Like maybe the next person will be growing coconuts and the next person will be growing mangosteen. Who knows, right? So it's like there's room for that. There's rarely any containers to experience that open-endedness. There's always an overly rigid goal, like we're going to make clay pots or we're going to make paintings that are on this concept. Like there's very little trust in the spirit itself, in the nature of spirit. There's this inherent fear that if there are no rules, we're just going to collapse and like not ever get up and ever do anything, and we're like completely useless, meaningless beings. It's not true. We're alive and we like to move and we like to play. And there's a lot of distortions stopping that energy flow at the moment. But what happens when, for instance, we're not focusing on that even for just a day? And I would always wonder that. And this was like an experiment for me to see that take shape. Like it is true. Like there is more that connects us than separates us. And if we were to be given loose guidelines around what we're hoping for here, really beautiful things can emerge without much direction. In any of our events, we didn't really designate rules, roles, very rigid time frames for anything. We let the energies move themselves, like a lot of choice, a lot of autonomy to each person. If anybody wanted to take charge of something, like that would be allowed, things like that, just to see like what that comes up with. And a group of people, when we come together, we want to do things together. It's really beautiful to watch. And I think we need to keep returning to that if we want to get to a place where all we're doing is not complaining, like we're actually building new things. So that's what collective work in those days was for me.
Yeah, because I was in those days, everything was called neuroqueer, like because I was like, this is a kind of thing that will be super safe for neurodivergent people and queer people, because there's a lot of overlap between neurodivergent and queer people, and because I am neurodivergent and queer, I was like, okay, I'm designing this even for myself. I want other people like myself to know that something like this is there and you can be safe here. So safety was like a primary concern. Everybody should feel safe. Pressure was second concern. There should be no pressure. Like he said, there's no rules and there's no pressure to do anything. You can sit out, you can watch, and there's a lot of spaciousness in terms of the speed at which things happen, the number of breaks we would take. Like the event would be 2 to 6, 7, something like that. And most of the time would be breaks. There'll be a game that will play for 10 minutes, 20 minutes break. People would go have water, do whatever. And I would get a lot of DMs saying, is this only for neurodivergent people? Is it only for queer people? I would keep explaining that it's designed, the nature of the event is neurodivergent and queer. And if you look at the ramp effect, like how when things are designed for disabled people, for example, the wheelchair ramps, it makes things easy for everybody else. So this is designed with keeping neurodivergent and queer people in mind. Does not mean it is for neurodivergent and queer people. A lot of people would send curve effect, not ramp effect. Curve ramp, I don't know, whatever that is. Yeah, so people would DM me all the time, like, can I come? I was like, yes, please come. And then I spoke to some other people. I was like, why don't you come to any of our events? They were like, I thought it is only for neurodivergent and queer people. So I thought maybe, okay, let's change that and make it a little more open, a little more accessible. So we took out the term neuroqueer around the same time when we started proposing pay what you can. And the attendance started dropping. There were events that we had to cancel because nobody showed up. Then we tried other things also. And I think since July of last year, we've not been doing very well in terms of events. At some time in December, I saw a post, Instagram post by Local Sustainable Fest that they were doing a festival and they were looking for workshops. We applied and that was beautifully that aligned, and we did a version of a playdate there on focus and clarity. We got fog and clarity, focus, fog and clarity, confusion and clarity. So we did an event there, we did a playdate there. That was beautiful. And we repurposed something that we were trying to do earlier, sometime in August or September, when we got one person to register. And the same person showed up at that event also. There were other people as well. And that event was beautiful again. We played well, it was very interesting, very fun. We got what we wanted. And the collaborative artwork there was a little more ambitious. We built a blind box, a glove box like thing that you couldn't see inside. We placed, at the bottom we placed some chart papers. And we threw a lot of colors inside, pastels and what else? And crayons and all of that. And we cut some slits and let people put their hands and draw blindly. And we let that be there for 2 days of the festival. Hundreds of people put their hands inside, drew. And when we uncovered it the final day, that was also magical. So that belief that we had, that when we allow, when there is no constraint, there are no rules, and you allow chaos to happen, when you allow synchronicity to happen, when you allow people to act out of their nudges and not because they're being pressured to or they're being forced to or there's some outcome that is expected. Something has to look beautiful, because people just went wild, children went wild, they were just going like the paper tore at places. But when we finally unveiled it, it looked like an abstract expressionist painting, right? Something on the lines of Basquiat. If you've seen Basquiat's art, this was like Basquiat. Obviously not that good, but it was great. It was really beautiful. So we scanned it, we kept it. It was really beautiful. But yeah, generally attendance is difficult. So we've been doing things more online. That's been working out better. Like more people come.
There was a lot of that's the interesting thing. There were a lot of variables that we changed around the time people stopped coming. Even though we said pay what you can, we did not ask for money. It was like free or pay what you can. It was like a donation thing. And we suggested an amount like 300 something. But we made very clear you don't have to pay. That was also there. At the same time, I started explaining what was behind the event. Before that, it was just a very low touch, fun thing that people would come to. Then start going to the depth of what this actually was, how much preparation, how much care, how much detail was behind the event. So all that exposure also happened at the same time. I don't know if that freaked people out. Like, okay, yeah, this is actually very deep and potent. Because we did ask people for feedback. We asked for testimonials, and we got really good testimonials. We got really good feedback. But I don't know what happened. I don't know, maybe it was not that exciting also, because people also want excitement in life, right? You want to go to parties, you want to. So I don't know exactly what happened, but people stopped showing up. I really don't know why. I still haven't been able to understand, because sometimes when we do events, people do show up. It's confusing. I don't know. Like very recently, we organized an event. We tried to host an event at local, and we didn't get a single registration. Even for the thing that we're doing at local fest, right? We got one registration a day before. One person kind of said they will attend, but all the registrations we got were on that day, on the day of the event. So sometimes we feel like maybe it's because we're in a corner of the city where we need to. Sometimes we feel like it's probably a language thing, like we're not able to connect. Sometimes,
I think he's asking between exhaustion and.
I'm coming to that. So that is where the question began. Like, is this worth putting energy into? The exhaustion of holding space is something that is a related but slightly different question, because this is more about a personal journey. When I came to Kochi, I had taken care of all my debt in life. I had a job that paid me really well. I was working remotely. It used to pay me in dollars, so the conversion gave me a lot of money. I was living in Chakolas in a duplex with like 4-5 BHK, like a rich person, not like a generational wealthy person, but person who has liquid money. So I was living like that, and everything was working out. Everybody thought like we were like a ideal couple. I would look at this and be like, these are the ideal guys, these are the best guys.
Right.
And I was not smoking then. I used to smoke before. I had stopped smoking. I was not smoking for months. And this is in the middle of the lockdown. We moved to Kochi in July 21 or something. Yeah, strict lockdown. We're staying in a service apartment in Parambai Nagar, D Home something in Giri Nagar, very close to where starting is. So staying there, and so imagine you can't go out. Now the shops are open. I figured out where to get cigarettes, the kind I smoke, and I placed an order on Genie. I paid that guy and I got cigarettes and I started smoking. And I was like, this does not make sense. According to the script that I had, according to all the reasons that I was told I wasn't happy. Now I'm taking care of all those reasons. I'm supposed to be happy. I don't need to smoke now. Why am I smoking now? Slowly the lockdown lifted. We moved into an apartment. I was still smoking. I was like, okay, I need help. I was not experiencing much psychological symptoms, but this nagging feeling of I need to fix something. I went to a therapist, and that therapist, like later on, this is in retrospect, right? In retrospect, I was like, yeah, what nonsense is she telling me? What is this? This is not psychology. This is superstition, boo-boo. What is she talking about? But at that time, I was thinking that. I didn't tell her that. I told her later. But she started introducing me to. So she was an IFS practitioner. So I was meeting my parts. And she was like, what is she talking about? The first time I met her part, and I asked, how old are you? And I got an answer. My mind was a little blown. And then I started having conversation. Like, this is like a mono act, right? You're acting and you're talking to yourself. But you can see the other one and you can talk to the other one. And I'm having a conversation, I'm getting to a place with that conversation. And then she introduced me to shadow work, the ideas of shadow work. And this went on, I was still smoking. And I went to her for 7-8 months. But at some point, my dreams became very vivid and very potent, and I would discuss those dreams with her. And then so at some point I could not afford therapy anymore, things were dicey. But then when I started in September or something, I was still in this house, I started going to a different therapist. This therapist is somebody who used to host some group healing events in Trivandrum. So I went for 2 of those events. He hosted 3. I went for the first one, that was great. I really liked that experience. And then I went to the second one, that was also great. And that person, I later on connected with her and asked her if she could work with me. I started regular therapy with her. But after that event, she sent me feedback and she told me that that you should look into holding space for people because you're very good at it. My previous therapist was also telling me that I have that kind of inclination. So this was also because I was working in tech. That's very different from, even though I was very interested in spirituality from a very young age. I was very interested in woo. I'm a science student. I studied medicine. I come from a very rational worldview where none of this makes sense. The maximum move I did, and because I was very rationally explained, was Vipassana. I had been to Vipassana twice, and I had my spiritual experiences there, which I was rationalizing. Right, that experience cannot be explained, but I was rationalizing them. And I was like, maybe this is true, maybe I had a hallucination, who knows. So I was considering this, and then I started therapy in October, and I started the first event in Sourcery in December. My therapist was like, you have to, if you don't tell the world what gifts you have or your community, if you don't show your community what gifts you possess, what gifts you have for them, why would they come to you? You have to, your unique gifts you have to present to them. So my inclination here was always in holding a space where some magic can happen, where some synchronicity can show itself. Because at one point earlier in my healing journey, I got very cocky, where I was getting synchronicities after synchronicities, like magic was happening every time. It was almost like I could command magic. I could command the universe to present magic, and I would show it to people. Look, I've created magic, and they'd be like, "Whoa, what is that?" So I was like, "Can I do this more?" Because if people are able to experience synchronicity, if people are able to experience magic live in front of them, that will change. That'll shift something. So that was my interest, and that is why every event, everything that we did was magical. Something or the other that is super strange, super magical would happen. Every single time, without fail, that has happened. And people would feel that magic. It was palpable. It was not something that could be explained away. It was there. It was present. It was always there. The exhaustion of doing this, it takes an amount of physical toll on your body. But by then, I had started working on, because it's the thing, right? I'm interested in this. I struggle with this. That happens at my work as well. I get back pain. I get all of this. Holding space is also work, it's energetic work. So there is some amount of exhaustion. At the end of the event, I'll be like, and this is something that I've heard from other event organizers also. People who are not holding space, people who are not interested in healing, not interested in any kind of these things, who are only interested in a social event where everybody is engaging, interacting with each other, everybody can show themselves. This was not about that, and nobody was expected to show themselves. In fact, everything we were doing was designed around, you don't need to show yourself. You can stay as hidden as possible, as closed as possible. Your presence is enough. Just being present here is enough, nothing else has to be done. Because presence is super important. Because I was working with my therapist, and what I understood was that everybody has some medicine. Every human being is an artist. Every human being is a healer. And everybody has their own medicine. And I realized my medicine was my presence. So I could only work with presence. I could work with others' presence. I could work with my presence. So I started looking at how do I not make this presence unbearable for me. Which is why the events were that spacious.
Right.
So nobody should get overwhelmed. I should not get overwhelmed. It still creates some kind of exhaustion. Next day I would rest, I would get a massage. When I had money, I would hire some masseuse to give me massage. But by the time we started working together, that was not available. So around that time, I think I started getting interested in somatics, both of us, because there were days, there were nights when both of us would lie down on that kitchen floor, packing, like passed out, collapsed, and wondering what is going on. It was a very weird period of time, very, very strange period of time, full moons and this, that. And we didn't know what was going on. It was, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. It was a time of where you like just jumped off a cliff.
I also think it was a collective thing, not
Yeah.
just us.
Yeah, it was happening
Because
everywhere.
it was around the time when the genocide in Gaza was publicized to that extent for the first time. I mean, obviously 70 years already, but it was like October was around when it was like media, it hit media, and everyone was in on this now, that America bad. You know, it that shift consciousness wise. And I think there was like this mass element, like this mass collective alchemy happening at that time. Like a lot of people were making shifts in their personal lives, like how are you showing up, how are you, you know, identifying with culture, with yourself, what you know to be true versus not. Yeah. Dreams as in actual dreams, or your project? Goals and dreams.